our goal. Things have changed in our world. 2005, there was a massive blackout, and it didn't affect New Hampshire. We were lucky, but it affected a large enough section of the country that the FERC has some pretty stringent fines for transmission lines that are that experience an outage due to tree trimming. It's like $1 million an incident per day. Now, as Mr. Connell indicated, this is a distribution line, but our plan was still to clear that 100-foot right-of-way because, as he says, this is a rude awakening and a big surprise to all the neighbors. They thought the easement, would never come to fruition, and we want to minimize those situations. So that's our plan at this point. But again, we can look at it, the situation, and see. We have some flexibility, I think, with distribution more so than with transmission.
So there's really no chance that you guys reconsidering not going through the neighborhood is what you're telling me? The engineering department is really focused on this particular location.
Okay, questions from the council? Paul?
Just looking at the map of the area, which I have expanded up in front of me, I see that there could possibly be other alternatives. However, PSNH, would be the ones, obviously, if you don't have easements in those other areas, then you would either have to acquire easements or you wouldn't be able to do that. So are there other alternatives that PSNH has considered or will consider, or is this pretty much there's really one way to get from point A to point B and there's no alternatives?
Counselor, I don't know the answer to your question. Typically, PSNH has multiple ways to do these projects, and they land on their preferred one for various reasons. And this is the process that I'm assuming we went through to get to this point.
Okay,
we went through our...
That would be one of my first questions is what were the alternatives, if any, and why aren't those being considered? So I think if you do end up having that public meeting, which I hope you will, that's something at least should be able to explain at that point when the time comes. So,
anything, Kath? No?
The easements how long have the easements been in place?
1945. Okay. Excuse me, 1965.
Yeah. 65, okay.
Okay. The only other point, and Andre, you could correct me if I'm wrong, because we do have having vegetation removed is a real dramatic thing for any residential homeowner. It tends to happen on a frequent basis when a new subdivision goes in, but looking at homes is relatively easy. You're just sad you lose all those trees. When you're close to a business zone and you see trees come down and a commercial property goes up, the elevation of stress rises. But in all those conversations that we've had, there's nothing that I'm aware of that prohibits anyone from clear-cutting any land they own. I believe that's unfortunate, but in the state of New Hampshire, we don't have the ability to stop anybody. You as a homeowner can clear-cut your trees and your neighbors loses privacy, and it's bothersome. And Andre, I believe that's correct, because we've looked into this and some of us want to stop that from happening, and we can't. Your neighbor can do it, a business can do it, and I don't think we have any legal standing when it comes to clear-cutting trees.
No, we don't. The only thing they're required to do, at least most businesses and property owners are required to do, is submit an application to the assessing department, depending on the amount of board feet that they removed. Right. And it has to reach a certain threshold before they are required to get a permit. But if it doesn't reach that threshold, then right, they're free to do what they want to do on their land.
Right. And
I don't know. I don't know. The assessing department has that in their rules and regulations.
I just wanted to illuminate that point, because we have been asked about that, and those of us that have been on the planning board have seen plans come in where that happens, and we've gone down that road, and there's just no legislation up in Concord that would give us the ability to stop that. You'd have to have legislators create a law and get it passed for you to have that ability, and it's not likely given New Hampshire's view of regulations like that. Okay.
Just have one
Yep.
question.
Yep.
Council and lady here. My house is the one, 11 Seasons Lane, which is the very last one here, that has the 3 stakes in the yard.
Can you give us your name if you
My
don't
name is
mind?
Bill Puttycombe.
Thank Bill.
The reason the 3 stakes are in my yard is because we were trying to get an idea of where the easement was located using some of the planning maps for our property. They have staked out in the back of my yard and also in the back of Bruce's yard what we believe is the center line of that easement. But they have not come into our property to let us know where that center line is. My house could possibly be in the middle of that easement, and the lines would come over the top of my house. If that house is in the easement, what is PSNH's policy for that, and more, what is the town's view of the house being built in an easement?
I don't know. I don't know what we would do in that case.
Well, it's something you might need to start thinking about. Because it looks like it is. I know the deed for the easement specifically states that no building should be built in the easement. Now, where that falls, where my house being built and who was responsible for putting it there, I'm not sure, but that's, something I may have to look at further down the road. But that is the reason why those stakes are out there. Okay?
Hey, Bill, can you
Yes.
just spell your last name for us? We just
Yes.
want to make sure we get it correct for the
Yep,
record.
it's Puddicombe. And
Thank
I did send an email
Yep.
to you when I first got the letter from PSNH,
Yep.
and you did respond, basically saying what you've told us tonight,
Yeah.
that you can only, do anything with the lines running over the roadways.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other members from the audience who want to speak?
Elizabeth?
We do have a couple minutes.
Jay needs the spelling of your last name as well.
Otherwise, as Elizabeth stated, she's kind of given you kind of a timeline for the next steps. And she's on record here, nice lady that she is, that she'll reach out to you guys who have given her, that she's given her business card, and then keep the town manager involved, and we'll set up a facility for you to have a meeting with PSNH.
Okay,
Yes.
one more question for Elizabeth. Does PSNH know the style of high-tension line that would be coming over there? Because when I think of a 100-foot right-of-way, the poles typically run up the middle, and there might be a certain pattern of wires. Do they have any? Because that might be useful as well.
Sure.
When looking at an easement, where the lines might fall.
I'm sure they have, Counselor, but I don't know what that is. With transmission, you have H structure, or you can put them all in one pole to minimize the number of poles. But in this case, this distribution line, I just don't know the configuration.
Paul, it's the picture that I gave you. It's going to look exactly like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate you coming down.
One thing for Bruce.
Huh? Yes.
Bruce, when you guys get this meeting together in the time and the date, can you notify the council? Because I think some of us may want to attend it.
Yep.
So, appreciate it.
And one other thing is how do we schedule the venue? How does that happen?
We'll probably work through Dave.
Dave will do,
Yeah.
Dave will do that.
Okay,
Yep.
excellent. Thank you for your time.
You know,
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, everyone, for your professionalism and